sense? Good. Next step, I have my plan, but I need to link it. So the next step is aligning and linking. Making sure the strategic goals are aligned both vertically and cross-functionally. And there's many ways of doing it. Cross-functional collaboration levers, performance outcome mapping. The whole idea is you have a common language. There's fundamental organizing a concept. So you're doing it by channel, by balanced scorecard, whatever way you want to look at the world, that's what you're doing. Companies change it every 15 years. They go centralized, decentralized. I mean, it's lots of different ways of doing it. The whole idea in Hoshin Connery is catchball. So I'm in this department. What do you think of that, Tim? You look at it and go, hey, forgot this. Oh, sorry. What do you think, Tim? You pass it back to me and say, oh, good, you like it. Let me look at yours. And it's catchball. So people are talking to each other. You're getting a common denominator. Different departments are saying, hey, this is great, you're doing all this stuff, but you didn't do anything in this area. That's what I'm releasing next week. And you talk. So that's what the alignment link. Yeah?
Is this also where you do any by instrument or determining any issues between departments?
Yes.
So if one is
Exactly right.
counteracted to the other one?
Exactly right. So let me show you just a simple strategy cascade. A company says they're going to do all these things here. These are the groups: marketing, sales, IT, etc. And then you have the departments down here, and then you have projects which are linked to here, which are linked to here, which are linked to here. So, hey, you got to do this. I'm saying, oh, I didn't know that. Why don't you tell me? Oh, I'm going to use catchball and do it. Whether you do OKRs or you do Hoshin planning, it's about it. I don't care. But the point is, you got to do it. So my suggestion is this is what you need to do. And then what you have is your iterative reports on how to make that happen.
Now, are you finding difficulty, a lot of companies, I don't know if you have, finding difficulty in determining how to measure the metrics that the programmer is trying to develop? So if I'm doing UI and I'm developing it, saying, what value am I adding to the capability that's, so that is it 50%, is it $100, is it $1 million, you know, that kind of thing.
Okay. So, does anybody know when Agile started? I'm old.
1998.
1985. A guy named Rick Dove. Rick Dove got $2 million grant from NIST, which he turned into a $20 million grant from DARPA. And he had Agility Forum conferences, actually. He had 5 of them at the time. And that was way before the people decided to go to Arizona or wherever to do their thing. And his big thing now is he's really upset with the whole movement because he's saying, how does this tie into big organizations like Texas Instruments that are making big instruments and stuff like that? Software, makes sense, it's a chunk, it's plug and play. Our stuff, system integration, isn't plug and play, and you can't decide this on a scrum. So he's been talking about it, but the question is, how do you measure? So if you go down to a company like that makes rockets that go get launched into space, you know what this has done to their earned value system?
Yeah.
Gone crazy. And they have no idea how to do EVA because they go to the group and say, so what's your earned value? I'll tell you next month. I'm doing my scrum meeting. I'm doing these features.
If it doesn't blow up, it's good.
The problem with satellites is once they're launched, they're very hard to fix up there. So the point is how to measure. Those are the dialogues. That's the catchball that has to happen. Those dialogues are more important than actually coming up with a metric. Because some companies might love lots of metrics. So a lot of companies like Intel, I mean, they're very structured. They're very structured, and everything is very maintained. They have measures. Other companies are much looser, but they have one metric. So if you need lots, you do many, depends upon the culture of your company. But you should have something. So you need metrics, you need your departments, you need your programs, they have to tie together. You're working down here, a lot of the people here on Scrum and Agile projects, I'm saying great, but they're tied to goals and objectives. These need to be the same type of process. What might that look like? Well, here's an example. Let's say I'm using a balanced scorecard, and let's say I'm in the financial area. And you decide what you want to measure. I want to say my current quarter, I'm yellow, and there might be a metric associated with it. They don't have one. It's too high up. Companies don't like to measure high up because then they get fired. They don't make up something. But they might add a date to an owner. And so there's financial. But here, under financial, consumer products has to reduce overall expenses by 25%. And operations has to reduce the cost of major product lines by 15%. So you got to do the right things right. First, is that the right thing to do here? And if nobody else is doing this except for them, my question is, gee, company, what's the story? This is what alignment does. It lets you see who else is working on it. That's how I found out in this big company that they had 25 UI projects for one simple goal. It's kind of ridiculous. It's a very, very large company that makes a lot of things. And many years ago, Jean-Louis Gasset, he's a French guy, but I won't talk about France. But you know, he said, what's happening here? And I said, well, great idea. you have 16 projects fighting for a spot in your printer plant in Milpitas. He goes, 16? Really? We only have 5 spots? Really? I thought they were competing in the best one, but they didn't know. That means, I have 16 products. That means 11 people are very disappointed. And how do you make it? Well, the one that shouts the loudest, right? The one that's good. So the point is, wouldn't it be great to know how many projects you have here? Or there's nothing here for this goal. My goodness, what are we doing? So this is the way executives can start seeing what's aligned, what's not. So that's to do the right things, right? And then things right, yeah, are they on track, are they on target, and stuff like that. So this is just an example of a simple cascade for align and link to get everything done. Okay? Make sense? Am I talking too fast or too slow? Okay? Okay, good. Box 3, real-time updates. So what do you think you have to do on real-time updates? Well, it's a single source of truth. Oh, my project's 25%. On here it says 15, this is 18. How do we organize that? Well, there has to be a single source of truth. So you go to somebody's software, and you go to the software, and that'll be the single source of truth. Everybody will know what's happening on that, and therefore, everybody knows what's there, and people can comment on it. And you want conversation. That's the whole point. You're driving conversation. For portfolios, for scorecards, for projects, but also initiatives. So what I'm suggesting is, when you leave here, think about how this needs to be applied to management. And if you're a consultant, heck, you can make more money with management than you can do on the blue ocean strategy rather than all the red ocean of the people fighting over PPM. What's the variance of metrics? Assumptions? How do you escalate the issue? Because now everybody sees it. There's a very large missile company up in the area here, and we have the whole company putting things on there. And there's a meeting with this many people developing this big satellite that gets launched. And one guy says, I looked at what you're doing. Is that all you're doing here? That was really something, because here you're a bunch of, they're all PhDs, they're all developing different things. And it's like, my God, everybody's going to see my work. Really interesting. So the outcomes are open access to all participants, personalized team and organizational reporting process based on the single source of truth, tactics and project doing the right things right, which we talked about, and strengthening organizational agility. So we're talking about agility. We're talking about getting the organization to move quickly if there's a problem. So can you all see where, if you're seeing here, this is a problem, and this is tied to this, and it's red, everybody can see it and say, I better do something about it. Right? So that's the whole organization. That's the way of doing it. The good news about goals and objectives is they might be harder to see, but there's less of them than lines of code and stuff like that. So it's much easier to pick the key things you want to go work in. Okay, next step. Next box here is sprint decisions. So why not have a sprint? Now I'll tell you, the people in strategy didn't like the idea about a sprint. They didn't know what it was. But anyway, the idea is, why not analyze performance enough, adjust initiatives under my control, review ours and other linked departments, red, yellow, green boundary conditions, create action plans. So you're updating things in step 3 by yourself. So you have a meeting with yourself. Do you need a group to order to update your plan? No, you just update your stuff. So on the 25th, I update mine. On the 26th, you update yours. You look at mine and say, oh, can you talk to me about this? So before the meeting, we know there's a problem. So what do you think the sprint decision is? Adjust things. Say, what do we need to do? Create action items for items they control to get back on track and change direction. So the whole idea of a monthly sprint is, these are the initiatives I'm going to do. I know what everybody else is behind or ahead of. I can come to the meeting now prepared to say how I'm going to change based on what everybody else is saying. And we've already talked. And what we've done in some companies is, as you talked about, Michael, is they're not allowed in the meeting unless they've updated their charts and they have a plan of action. Because that's not a meeting to find out bad news. That's actually the meeting where you make decisions. Hence we called it sprint decisions. It's a decision-making game. Okay, step 5, retrospectives. Update the strategies real time and assess operating priorities predominantly based on variances in our performance. So this could be a meeting. Retrospective means to discover deliberate and emerging strategic trends. Anybody here know Clayton Christensen? Okay, so Clayton Christensen is a big strategy guy. He likes stuff. And what he said was, you know the reason we have strategy, to write it down? The reason we write down strategy is to find out what else is available. So I think it's 85% of all startup companies on their initial IPO have completely pivoted and changed direction to what they said they were going to go do. Well, how do you think they did it? They went one way, it didn't work, they tried something else. So why can't you, quote, pivot in your organization? So when you're writing down your strategy and your strategic plan, the whole point is for everybody to look at that and look around and say, is anybody else here? Is that still the right thing? So why not use a retrospective meeting to find out if your strategy is correct? And try small tests, small ways of bets in order to see what's there. So, enabling management of value stream, focus on customer engagement, a lot of words here. Maximize the delivery of business and value more quickly. So let me give you an example of what a retrospective meeting might be. Okay guys, we now have the goals and objectives, we see the cascade. How are we doing on our deliberate strategies and objectives? Well, we have 25 reds, yellow, it seems like we're going the right way, things are going good. Good. How have our strategic objectives been performing? Pretty good, we're on track. However, are there emerging strategies we need to consider? Going into this meeting, people need to have thought of that. Now, I think we need to look at that. Maybe there's a risk analysis done, maybe other things come up, but somebody has to decide what the emerging strategies. Clayton Christensen says the whole reason for strategy is to do that, to find out what else we can do. Now, what does that do to your backlog? If somebody else said, let's get rid of this and let's do that, well, it goes down on the list and you reprioritize for the next sprint, not the one you're in. But the whole point is it's retrospective. How often should this be? How often would you have a retrospective meeting in a company?
The end of each sprint.
End of each sprint, it could be monthly, it could be quarterly. I would say at least quarterly. I'd say every quarter, after you've done 2 or 3 iterations and you're going away, management has to sit down and say, we're going the right way? Are there emerging strategies? And what they're really asking is, have we got our business model right? Is this the right thing to do? Well, my God, Microsoft just released a new product that has all the features we're doing. Gee, maybe we should get together and decide what to do. Well, it's not a big risk because nobody likes Microsoft or buy our software anyway. Besides, I'm French, I can speak and they can't understand. Or you might say, no, that was a joke. Or it might be, no, we need to do this and, or, if, and let's change our business model. Now, how are our budgets, now here we go to your EVA, etc. How are our budgets, rolling quarterly financials values looking? So if we're burning money in this area and we shouldn't, and we're not getting the value, well, either we put more resources on or we pull back. So it's nice we're doing our business model because we see this and we're measuring our strategy, but it comes down to, do we have enough money? What do we need to do? What do we need to pull? How do we need to change our resources? So this might be what a retrospective meeting would be. How many of you seen a meeting like this at a company?
It's typical, I shouldn't say that. Most boards do this in a different manner, different ways, maybe not as effective, as efficient as this, but been in several of these. Some of them aren't as pleasant, and people get upset and angry. But it seems like they go through this kind of thinking. However, I do see some benefits here where I do see some organizations probably could benefit with this type of reasoning and kind of structured thinking.
I've actually worked with companies that are doing transformations, and part of it is to get the executives to eat their own dog food. So they actually end up putting their initiatives on backlog and then going through sprints, and then they would do the retrospective. So I think actually that was one of the
That's right. So most companies are doing lots of different pieces of this. It has to do with the maturity model, right? How can you get to a level called optimized unless you're starting to do this? Because you look at the optimized level on the top, that's what it is. So the question is, hey, I'm doing really good. I'm in my managed here. How do I get to optimize? Well, here, look at that. Step 5, retrospective. Get together and start evaluating. Let the marketing department come and say, I have this much money in the business. This is how much I spend doing this stuff. Is it right? You know, telemarketing isn't working. I need to go to cold calling. You know, however you want to do it. This can be good for the departments. It can be done for the whole organization. My suggestion is it needs to be done. Okay, so now we had a retrospective meeting every quarter, after every sprint or every 2 sprints. So the last step is to prepare your next strategic plan. Now is that yearly? Let's say it's yearly right now. So I don't know what to call it. So we call it a refresh and transform. It means throughout your whole, come up with a new, call it what you want. Executives have their own ways of spinning it. But to assess the core business assumptions, renew, update, and revise strategic business plans, linkages, and alignments. Now this has to be done before you release the next strategic plan, so the departments know what's happening. Should this be done before or after budgets?
Okay, before.
How many organizations do the budget and then do the strategic plan? Like 80%.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the.
I'm too busy with the end of the year numbers, I gotta get my numbers out, what do you want? Quality, quantity, or strategy? So, methods, global analysis, market competitor analysis. I don't want to go into those different things, but it's improved decision-making cycle time, improved strategy investment ROI, improved time to value. Many tools on this, and you're familiar, or if you're a strategist, you love all these tools where you can do your SWOTs here, market analysis, global analysis. But you're putting this together, hopefully, before the budget cycles. So if the budgeting is done in December, then you gotta go October, November, and get people starting to put it together. Smaller companies, just grab them by the arm and make them do it. Larger companies, well, good luck, get a department. But, so, those are the steps in the framework. Any comments, questions? If you don't like it, tell me. I'd like to know what you all think.
Are there particular parts of this that you found most challenging for companies you worked with?
I would do the maturity model, find out what they need to do, listen to what they are, and say, it sounds like we need to do here. I would start by saying, hey, those weirdo project guys, they do these things called a sprint. I don't know what it is, but they all get together and they agree on 15 things they're gonna do, and then they do them. Can we try that? And matter of fact, would you mind every month just filling out where your goals or objectives are and show me those 15? Oh, I got 50. I know, but we'll just go look at 15. This is only for 15, it's not for the 50. Which ones do I have the 15? I don't know. Why don't you talk among each other and figure out which one's the important one? So I would suggest starting here. If they don't have anything, just start developing some plans for them. So I would start plans. The retrospectives is another way if you're working with top management you can start with. Why, like you said, you can talk to the people and say, great, you have your goals and objectives, you have your meeting to see that. Now, ever read Craig Christensen and taking a look at what emerged is? I mean, do you care what's coming up down the road? Oh yeah. Is that train coming down the tunnel? Is that reflection, or is that another train coming out to hit me? So those are the kinds of things. So I would be very opportunistic. I would look at which areas are here. If they have these, a lot of companies that go out and they have all these Excel spreadsheets and they tie them together and they put them together and they look at their goals and objectives. I would say, well, how do we align and link them? Which departments? What are your top 3 you always get in trouble with? Oh, marketing, they never know. Okay, well, marketing, so why don't you get together and talk? So I'm saying do baby steps. I'm saying take your maturity model and don't go for a home run. Figure one of these things. But what happens if you show senior management as a model to do all this stuff? Show them where they are at a low and say, well, I'm going to do this little thing. Well, they're going to want to do everything all at once. So fine, I'll bring in my 75 consultants. Well, let's start small. Let's take baby steps. Let's find that early adopter in the organization and let's work with them. So these are some conclusions. There's no magic. Sorry. Strategy execution has been around a long time, and it's really time for a change. I mean, I think with all the lean and all the new words that are coming up in projects, strategists have just been, I don't know, behind ties and not changing much. There's no difference, and I go to and I'm one of them guys, I'm in this Association of Strategic Planning, and they use the same ways of doing things over and over and over again, and they don't believe in projects. Now they're changing. I mean, IPS, I believe IPS Solutions, Stanford Group, okay. They're a group that does project management and time strategy in projects, if you've ever trying to do all that, located here in the Bay Area. They're trying to change the model. But strategy, Welch basically killed all the strategy. Welch came in, killed his own strategy guys, so fired all the strategy people, they looked for work. And now it's coming back in. But I'm saying, let's go use a different model. Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm CEO or CFO, why would I do that? I'm measured on my stock price per earning and all that stuff. I don't need measured on this.
Good.
You know what, I'm just,
Exactly.
I'm being a devil's advocate.
Okay,
because,
so you have to do a RONA of 16%. What are the major things that are happening in your organization that are going to get you? Well, I need to sell 20% of my new products. Good. Do you mind if we go to your new product guy and write down, sell 20% more products? Good. Marketing guy, 20% more products. Is that a goal you're gonna, because you're gonna talk to him every quarter and tell him that. How are you doing that? Oh, you have a fulfillment department that's gonna, okay. Do you mind if I put on your page, my fulfillment department will contact 35 people? So I wouldn't go for goodness. I would, if that's all he cares about, I would take that, cascade it down. It has to translate into something.
Well, I'm just saying that some people I've talked to don't want that visible to anybody else. They keep that a secret.
Yeah.
They don't want to be scrutinized and accountable.
Right.
Bing, 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 bing.
So, let me come back to that. They don't want to be scrutinized and accountable. Okay, so we can adopt a bad agile best practice from software development for strategy with a refined framework, proven methods, and tool. There needs to be a top-driven culture
There you go.
for everybody's job. Strategy and execution is a culture. So, one more thing. Anybody know that guy? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So the culture isn't there.
Right.
Right? That's what you're all saying. What's in the middle of the model?
Culture.
Culture. I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but mechanisms to exploit formal and informal versus preached and practiced culture. So, you need to get somebody or somebody in the organization to work on the culture. If they don't want it, fine. But if they do, I would suggest you need to start working on the culture. There are many different tools out there. You know, Agile, Lean. I'm familiar with the culture mapping. Anybody familiar with these kinds of things? I can analyze these dimensions. So if you say you're collaborative, you're control, cultivator, competence, let's say you're one of those four. There are a lot of books on this for Agile. Agile goes on this kind of stuff. I brought it. Dr. Gamble says takes these dimensions of culture and figures it out. Where is Intel? I pick on Intel a lot because I don't work with them and therefore I have no NDA. They're in the control. I mean, everything is a cubicle and they're looking at, Moore's law and they got to, get X number of things. Everything's defined. Margins are small. Then you get company, like Google, and they're saying 20% of your time, whatever the number is, go work on whatever you want to work on. So they're cultivating people. So where is your culture? Now the thing is, a company doesn't have to have one type of culture. Because Google is very cost controlled on certain things like the Google Maps and the drivers going around and stuff like that. Yet they're very collaborative and they cultivate people. Some organizations, startups, they want competence, right? You don't want to cultivate it. You want to get some products out, so you're going to go here. So let them know with their eyes wide open what their culture is. Measure it, find out something to do here. And what's the difference between practice versus preach? Oh, my culture is great. I'm the CEO. Everybody loves each other. Well, yeah, but everybody else is saying they're over here. Gee, it sounds like the people don't know that they love each other. I'm working with a startup now. It's about $7 million. Valuation is about 40 million. 50 people, and that's what they're working on. Because the top guy said, we're going to do Agile Lean. The people said another thing to do, and stuff like the software company. And so we started to take a look at, what's there. What are we going to do collaboration on, and what are we going to do control on? They do a new product. They're not going for collaboration. They're going to hire someone in order to lead that. So, going through this collaboration as culture as a driver of tools, I think is very important.
Have you thought about mapping that to this? So is that like Cotter's International? And then you can map this and say, okay, here's where you have to go, this where you want to go, and you can map those cultural changes to get to each one of these levels.
And if you'd like to do that, man, I'd love to, yeah. You're exactly right. So the culture is very important. That's why the map culture is in here. The other part is accountability. So you're talking about that. Online strategy, alignment platforms, real-time collaboration platforms, a lot of different ways of doing it, but you have to have some sort of governance or ways of doing it. So it starts from the matrix, takes a look at where things are, the maturity. That'll give you an in to talk about what they're doing. If they're saying the problem is agility, then you talk about Scrum. If they're talking about creation, you talk about strategy. If you're talking about align, you start with the alignment. So my suggestion is, where do you start in the organization? Where they see a gap between where they are and where they want to be. So there could be a gap in all of them. Which is the one they want to work on? Maybe it's a small one, I don't know. But you got to get a consensus on what to do. Then you say, okay, gee, am I going to come in and do all this? Or how's the culture here? and then go to Jay and he'll develop that survey to tell you exactly how the culture is and stuff like that, and do 360 reviews, etc. So comments, questions? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, The fishbowl. For those of you who aren't consultants, if you could put your business card in the fishbowl, I'm gonna do a raffle. If you're a consultant, you probably wouldn't be interested in what I'm raffling, so. But if we could just take a moment for a raffle, so. See, are you with the consultant? No. Do you want to put your business card in?
I just started at the new company. So
Oh, okay.
Start yet.
You guys-
But you'll win because you're the only one.
All right, let's see.
Another 3.5 weeks to go with this.
Let's see. See, you're a consultant, you're with the company. You guys are with the company.
The paint's been resided pretty much.
Yeah, sure. That might be
It's been good.
easy for me to.
Sorry.
Are you?
You're a consultant, aren't you? Yeah. But yeah, so I'm not doing it for consultants.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't be interested. Anybody? You're a consultant. No, for company, people that are for companies, and you're here for a company, or you a consultant? Consultant, anyone, consultant. You have your own company. Are you? Probably not. Okay. Yeah, I've never made that. Anyone else? No? You guys are all consultants? Okay.
How do you feel?
All right, so, well, we have actually only 3 people. When I get some other things to say.
They all win?
I know, practically, yeah. So, let's see. Okay, so the first one, the post-it. So I've got the post-it.
Google has a lot of departments that are very, very good. Department of Defense,
So you've got,
Pentagon, a lot of areas do it.
you have the choice of either this one or this one. So that's a free hour
Ellen, are you going to
coaching.
share your slide deck?
Anything that you want to do.
Are you going to share your slide deck?
Sure, you can give me a card and I can
Come
send
on
you.
site and
Oh, okay, I'll write
actually,
down.
and do a 1 hour assessment or have a lunch with you. Okay, all right.
I have them in French, I don't have them in Swedish. I'm a liar.
Yeah, you could do that.
Okay, sure.
Okay, all right. All right, then let me pick a- There's only 2, so. Oh, and then Charles, so that's it. For everyone else, thank you for coming. I'm sorry my voice is gone. Somebody in the office has been sick. So, yeah, nice meeting you too. Hi and bye. If you want to stay around, eat anything, or network with people, feel free.
You want some slides?
Be right here. So thank you for coming. I can't even write my office. I'm just lady in the office is very sick. I'm not sick, but I got it.
So right now,
Yeah.
so I have.
So what company were you working with?
So if you'd like to meet,
One to team, actually, where project management, program management.
Program management.
Great club. But more, yeah, I would say we're focusing on collaboration. There's of course, there's Agile and strategy here. But software you'll find
The survey, we have, they have, it's on surveys.
collaborate people.
Similar to like Jira?
Yeah, kind of. But yeah,
all right, thanks everyone. Yeah, if you can just throw your stuff away.
What's it called?
one to team. So it's about because I felt maybe I can.
Check in with Alan.
I had it.
Oh, yeah.
New elevation. We do elevation. We do project management, also software development. We have a lot of software development folks. But we also are primarily working with the various retailers. Really big. Yeah. So there's several here in the Bay Area. And, and they're still very behind on a lot of the systems. Just catching up with some newer technologies, but they're also trying to come up with new ways of actually launching it. So be a lot more adaptive
to launch products or launch new technology?
It's launching the new technology because it's not they're not a technology company.
Yeah. So is it like install technology or we use technology for the whole
So they take it, sell it, take a
the whole
work,
company?
a worksheet.
Not the whole company. They want completely cloud. They want.
We don't know. We have a big experience on
So what they do is they,
technology rollout in stores or remodeling new things in working with hardcore in France.
Yeah. Let me give you my card too. I do have to move, but
It would be interesting to have a chance to
what part of Australia? Oh, I've been in there. Did a lot of work in there. Did a lot of work in barriers. OSI.
it's a new elevation.
Oh, you did? Okay. Sometimes they have
I guess actually I gotta run. My wife is sick. Sorry about that. And I gotta I got the kid
Connected
usually.
with you online.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise. You have a good evening.
Yeah, you too.
How you doing, Steve?
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
You know, I still feel bad that I interrupted that one meeting a couple of weeks ago. And, everyone was getting like really in depth into.
Oh, yeah, no, I remember.
I was the guy the guy that followed in there.
Your timing was actually good, but you made a lot of stuff, so it was kind of winding down, so it wasn't no big deal.
I thought that was such a great moment, to truly be capturing communication without the words
I know, and I asked afterwards, I found a person that actually had experienced that with families. I guess it's a well-known technique that I never, you know what I mean? But I never heard of.
No. I don't. I would love to see if I could put it into practice at the workplace.
No kidding.
That's that would be the next thing. Let's be out.
Nice to meet you, David.
Yeah,
See you next time.
Let me give her my card.
contact me. I can show you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that was fun. Are you coming to the next one? Is there a next one?
I have not seen.
Number 2? Not either, come to think of it.
And that's where, no, I'd love to attend that one because, to me, that was a lot more informative than most.
Yes.
I love, because I would think they have really talk about these stuff about the process. That entire.
See, I can try to crazy. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really, because it's all about, that's why I like Agile. That's why I like it.
It's like 5 minutes from here.
And then you take it a step up, and you go, really, when you came in, right, did you feel?
That's where I felt it was like really special. I was glad everyone said it was okay, great mistake.
Yeah, because we reached a place where we had kind of accepted the group, which you missed was like, this room is much cooler. And they gave us a paper, a group of 6 people, and they gave us a paper to hold on to, and they said, do what you want with it, right? And we went through the typical Agile thing, where some power thing, and then you had a retrospective, and then we went through it again. And this one girl, to me, she had such a kind, empathetic aura. And she accidentally tore the paper, and everybody within a second, everybody tore it. It was gone. And she tore it accidentally. Everybody else followed her immediately. Isn't that cool? And just tore it away. Just following her lead, but she did it by everybody knew she did it by accident. It was kind of to me, it was an empathetic response to her tearing it. Doesn't that sound, I mean, for me, it blew me away.
Well, we are connected in that way. That's actually experiencing and witnessing. Have it as a focal point because it's cool. We don't focus on it. We think about the words and
That was
conversations.
Volker's point when he introduced the whole thing. He said people don't even pay attention. Exactly, yeah. But we do it. Exactly what
We're
you
doing it
said.
and we're being influenced by it and not even to recognize it. And that's where I'd love to capture more of that, and this is, it's very interesting. It seems like it's so powerful, this idea of like merging.
This is, to me, this is really companies that work that haven't done any of this. Like I said, the strategy is to get a drawer, right? And it's the next step. Yeah, the management may be accepted without finding out.
All the buzzwords.
There's
Well, and all the buzzwords are there.
yeah, so management will accept this.
Yeah, and that's where I'm just not at. Yeah, I love that city.
Is that what your company does?
The level, you know, like the engagement piece and like
The full, that's your eyes. Yeah, you right? Yeah, that's when you get to that. That's success. And the hell with the outcomes. When you get people in that zone, it's a zone, just like basketball.
this is more like a sales model.
Well, we can do it online, yeah. We have
Like, I do think it's interesting to see where, you know, a lot of I do, right now I'm a firm believer in almost like the Kanban sandwich with, you know, scrum in the middle.
But I'm okay with
That's what I told the guys. I said, for this sort of thing, most of it, if you can work it into the performance, it just makes, to me, I'm a visual.
So you have a backlog, you have that, you incorporate that into Scrum, you leave your, you know, your creative team, you know, in their, you know, in time clocks, sprints, and, you know, and let them to just do work. And, but they're still driving it off the backlog. And
Right.
it's the management role that you could actually talk to the folks that may not understand Agile and will never.
To me, I think, yeah, the time is the basis or the tracking. But what you do is, brainstorm with the people. Like, I never ran sales, involved with salespeople on the line. I would talk to them maybe. They weren't involved. I just, okay, 20% increase, promise management, and I did everything I could, carrots, stick, whatever, to get the salespeople to do it, right? I mean, backwards. No.
So you worked in sales? Or?
Yeah, I worked in marketing and sales.
But
I had my own company.
Engineer, but then I wanted to finance, and I found myself in financial sales for software development. But there's that, you know, parallel between production and, you know, performance. And we would just do huddles